Okay.
Yes.
So what I found from the national MHA that we're affiliated of is something called Live Your Life Well, and it's all about why mental health matters. So that's what I'm going to go through, something that they put together that was so well received, and we actually have adapted it and adopted it for our own agency. So for, most people, when they hear mental health, think of mental illness. And we really, what I'm going to focus on tonight is how important mental health is. And just the way physical health is, this is about our souls, our mental, all this good stuff. So tonight we're going to talk about making small changes to improve your life and the lives of the children in your care. And I have this little, hierarchy of mental health here, but the very bottom part is support. And hopefully for any of the Kinship providers that are a part of our programs, they do feel that support, because that's the foundation of everything else. And as you go up all the way to somewhere, that self-care that we've been talking about a lot is kind of in the middle, and hope all the way at the top. But I think every single part of this little cone is important. So tonight I'm going to talk about the 10 tools from the national MHA, and they are connecting with others, staying positive, getting physically active, helping others, should have said, getting enough sleep, creating joy and satisfaction, eating well, taking care of your spirit, dealing with hard times, and getting professional help if you need it. And we're going to talk about each of these. So number one is just connecting with others and understanding that during, the pandemic, connecting has been really difficult with all the social distancing, although I much prefer the word physical distancing and not social distancing, because we still need each other, we still need to be connected. And certainly your relationships with your family and your friends, may look a little different, but they're very important. Having those social connections, not just for ourselves, but for the kids as well. And, finding different ways to connect. And I know probably everyone's kind of sick of Zoom, but when you can't get together, having Zoom meetings and Zoom reunions or FaceTime is actually, not such a bad way. I know my husband and I, since the pandemic started, we have coffee with my daughter who lives in New York every morning, and it's awesome. It's like better than actually what we usually do, which is talk a few times a week. So, figuring out how do you connect with others, and certainly this is a nice way to do it, where we meet, we're sharing ideas, we have support groups through our Kinship services, and finding ways to keep that going. So I was thinking about, part of connecting with others is really being a friend or having friends. And this is, you can certainly put this in the chat if you want, or just think about it. But what is a friend? And when am I a good friend? And thinking about the things that actually make for a good friend, or the kind of friend that you would actually want to have. So, for ourselves, and again, I'm talking back and forth that this is for us, but it also affects the children. So thinking about the things that really, that we want in our lives, and those are the people we want to connect with. So it's interesting because support groups is a big part of Kinship. And, those of you that go to the support groups and utilize those services probably already know this. But when you're in a group with others that are going through things that you're going through, that is the best thing. It is when you hear other people talking about things that you've dealt with, then all of a sudden you don't feel so alone. And how awesome is that? Being able to empathize with others, understanding that some of the things that we're going through that make us feel so alone and so unique. All of a sudden there's 5 other people saying that they've dealt with that too. So we need that kind of support. I love, also, I've talked to people who heard other stories, and sometimes they feel so like what they're going through is so hard. And then they hear other stories and they're like, you know what? I think I'll keep my own problems. It's okay. So sometimes just getting that kind of perspective on what's happening in your lives is helpful too. Staying positive, number 2. So, and that's my glass half full as opposed to my glass half empty. But being optimistic and understanding that when we, when we feel better, we actually have less physical complaints, and that's one thing. But just when you can really focus on all the negative things that are happening, or you can start focusing on the positive things that are happening. And that's the whole concept of the glass half full. When we can start changing the way we look at life and saying, well, I have a roof over my head, I have people who love me, I have, a job, or, people to support me, or whatever it is, then you could start to feel a little bit less overwhelmed and a little bit more positive. And, this is also all of these things that I'm talking about tonight are also research-based, and they're based on a lot of thinking and a lot of research from the National MHA. But they did find that children who grow up with positive thinking adults are actually more likely to succeed in school and have a positive outlook in life themselves. So this is something that not just affects us, but it affects our kids too. So that glass half full, and it's hard to like get into that mind frame of looking at what's going right as opposed to what's going wrong. But when you do, and when you start to do that, you're going to see a whole different world, and that's pretty awesome. So ways to stay positive is focus on those positives, like I just said, right? Focus on that glass half full. Envision the future and think of all the things that you want and that could happen. And when you start envisioning a positive future, you're going to have a more positive outlook. And they suggest that you talk about it to people. You tell your friends, you tell your family, this is where I see us in 5 years, and this is what I want for you, and all that kind of stuff. And some people say that when they write it out, then it makes a difference to them. So you do, some of us are talkers, and that's fine. Some of us want to write and just keep it and look back at it. That's great too. Always search for that silver lining, right? Like, this is a perfect situation. The pandemic was such a, we've never gone through anything like this. And there's so many things that we felt powerless about, but the silver lining is how much time you get to spend together doing things you might not have done before. My family does puzzles together. It's, we never even sat still long enough to do stuff like that. We have more time together. We, got to know each other in a different way. How to get creative, working from home on Zoom. It's something I kind of learned and now I love. So you just never know. And if you start looking at, well, what are the things that happened that we've discovered because of the situation that we went through? And so, looking at, are my relationships stronger? What new skills have I developed? I was talking to one friend, and she said that she and her husband haven't cooked in the house in forever. I don't know what they do. They order in or eat out or whatever. But once COVID started and they were afraid to go out, they actually taught each other how to cook. And now they're actually eating better. Who knew? So all of that is part of staying positive. The third one is getting physically active. So regular exercise, everyone knows it's good for you. Putting it in your routine is hard though, especially if it's not something that you normally gravitate to. But exercise reduces stress and anger and tension. And if that's something, I know for the first few months in the pandemic when everyone's kind of stuck and you don't know what to do, taking that walk was like the only thing we had, and it worked. So find something that you can do for yourselves, maybe something you could do with the kids that will help you get out and move. And children, of course, they need to move their bodies. So finding ways for them to move their bodies, they're happier, they sleep better, you know, all of that good stuff. And it also creates a lifelong habit of being physically fit, which is not only makes you mentally healthier, but physically healthier as well. So I found this little pyramid of just activity, and this is based on more adult stuff. And just like if you look at the bottom, just the everyday stuff. I mean, walking your dog, or taking a longer route, or parking your car a little further away and walking further to the store. These are little things that we can do that just give you a little bit more activity, a little bit more exercise. So, you know, gardening, all these little things that we do. And, you know, and then the pyramid goes up to all the things, you know, actual aerobic exercise and recreational stuff, and then up and up. On the very top, it's what to cut down on, which is probably everything we've been doing for the past few months, is watching more TV, computer games, and things like that. So, but, you know, sometimes we think, oh, we have to exercise 3 times a week, and we have to go to a gym, and we have to, no, you can simply walk a little further, do a little more within your means and within what's comfortable for you. So this is what more geared toward the kids, but, you know, again, it's the kind of things that we think of with them. Kids need to be out and be physically active and get some exercise. And I don't know if you ever have that moment of the day where everyone's just going a little nuts in the house, and, you know, it's like time to get out, right? Time to do something, and to find things to do with them so that they get exercise and they get to move around will make everyone mentally feel better. So it's a good thing. And I love that they have like do stretch yoga up at the top. Yoga is one of those things with, even if you can't do a lot of exercise, yoga is something that you can bring into your life, and for children too. And what's awesome, they have YouTube videos and, you know, all sorts of ways to get kids involved with you if you want to do yoga that will make them feel good. And it's a great habit to get into, and it's something to do together that's probably outside what you've done in the past. So number 4 is about help others. So one of the things that they came up with, that they found out, was that performing 5 acts of kindness a day increases your happiness. So you do kind acts for other people, you end up feeling better. And that's, you know, so we're going to talk about what kind of things you can do in a minute. Providing emotional support to others significantly decreases harmful health effects and certain kinds of stress in older people, it says. So having, you know, providing that support for others also can make you feel better. Children who give of themselves get a boost in the feel-good part of the brain, as revealed by the brain imaging research. So again, like all of those things that you think, like, who has time to do that? I can barely get through the day. But when you help others, it actually makes you feel better. Also, it takes our mind off our own worries sometimes. So, you know, you're helping someone who's going through something, it gives you a break from thinking about the things that, you know, that you're going through. Makes you feel generous and adds a sense of purpose and meaning to our lives. And how cool is that? So think about how you can help others and what kind of things can you do. One of the research things said that those who consistently help other people experience less depression, greater calm, fewer pains, better health, and may actually live longer. So what are the small acts of kindness that we can do? Because I mean, if you're like me, I mean, we're extremely busy. Our time is limited, and sometimes I know I've seen someone who needs help, and I'm like, how much can I really do right now? I need to help myself. But you can do this. Call a friend to see how they're doing, right? Sometimes you need a few minutes to do that, but what a nice small thing you can do to reach out to others. Serve your spouse breakfast in bed, maybe. Letting a car in front of you on the highway. I mean, imagine, that takes no time, that takes no effort, that just takes a little kindness. Smiling at a stranger, holding the elevator door, waving and saying hi to a neighbor. I mean, all of these little things that you can do to make a difference. Holding a door open for someone. I don't think that's on there. All right, so number 5, so get enough sleep. So if you ask yourself, are you often tired? Do you need a lot of coffee to just get through your tasks? Are you not sleeping well? Do you wake up feeling refreshed or still tired? Do you get drowsy when you're driving, which is scary, or watching TV? Those might be indicators that you're not getting enough sleep. And you really have to look at what your habits are, what your patterns are. So let's talk about some things that might help. One is setting a regular bedtime. So I mean, people who go to sleep around the same time, wake up around the same time, they usually are working with their body clock, and that's just been found to kind of, I don't know if anyone's had that, the experience where you kind of like wake up in the morning and it's the same time that every day, that it's just, that's part of waking up with your body clock. It's just what happens. So if you're setting that regular bedtime and you're setting a bedtime routine for yourselves, then hopefully that will help in getting to sleep at at a regular time and sleeping better. We know for kids too, having that bedtime routine, how important that is, but it's also important for ourselves. So think about, do I have a routine? What do I do? And what works for me? Decaffeinate. So they're saying, like, if caffeine bothers you, then you really want to avoid that probably after lunch, right? Because if that might keep you up, and you don't want anything that could keep you up. And be aware of all the drinks that aren't coffee that still have a lot of caffeine in them. So just be aware of that. So just find a way to kind of de-stress at night, relax. It might be a hot bath, it might be reading a book, it might be listening to music, meditating, whatever works for you is going to help you kind of get into that relaxed mode so that you can sleep. They also say, I think most, that looking at your phone or electronics before you go to sleep can keep you up, that it kind of messes with the brain waves and it's harder to go to sleep. So think about, are you on your computer or are you on your phone before you go to bed? Because that's going to make it harder to fall asleep. And something to think about. Certainly exercise and working out. For some people, it relaxes them and they can go to sleep. For others, it energizes them. If that's the case, then exercise in the morning, not at night. But if there's a lot of muscle tension, they said that's helpful. And then make your bed a sleep haven. So I don't know, like, just change out your pillows, which you're supposed to do anyway, right? Every, I don't know how long, but get like more comfortable sheets, or, a softer bed or harder, whatever is going to work. So when you get into bed, it's such a nice feeling. Make your room as uncluttered as possible. Maybe have some nice music when you're going to sleep, but think about what's going to be relaxing to you. And I know a lot of people watch TV until they go to sleep. That may or may not be the best way, but think about what your bedroom is like and how you can make it kind of special and nice to go to sleep. And this is me having a cup of tea, literally. I'm also taking a bath, just being funny. But I know for myself, just having a cup of tea, probably an hour before I go to bed, so I don't have to get up, but that's been my part of my new routine. That's been really nice. So, and that kind of, now it's like a trigger in my head of, I've had my tea, I'm relaxed, and I'm going to get into bed, and that seems to work. Number 6, creating joy and satisfaction. So it's so interesting, but I think laughing is such an important part of life, and it makes us feel better. It decreases pain. It promotes, muscle relaxation. It could do all this good stuff, but sometimes adults forget to laugh. And I think there was, in one of our parenting things that we do, they were talking about how much children laugh and how much more children laugh than we do as adults. And when you think about that, how sad. So find things that make you laugh. I mean, for some people, they love comedy shows. They might, like to watch their children when they were babies. I mean, whatever it is that's funny or makes you laugh, or call a friend that makes you laugh, but bring laughter back into your life. We need it, especially when things are tough. And sometimes we forget that. So, try to think back about what are some of those things that were really funny to me, and how do I bring that into my daily life? Find some fun. I mean, that's another thing. We as adults, we're so busy that we can't have fun anymore. But they're actually saying schedule things that are fun for you. And sometimes we really have to go back and say, well, what is fun for me? And what was fun for me? What kind of stuff did I like to do when I had the time? And bring that back in whatever way you can. It's different for all of us, but if you can find that thing and give yourself permission to have that time to just take care of you and find the things that you used to love and put them back into your life, it's going to help. Because we can't always change the situations we're in, but we can change our attitude about it. And when you're feeling better, when you're laughing, when you're having fun, when you're getting into things that you love, you're also relating that to whoever's around you, and everyone's going to feel better. So it's an important thing for the whole family. I love, so get into your flow. So I was trying to figure out what they actually meant, but it's like if you love to cook and, so get into cooking. If you love to be creative and you really haven't had anything to create in a long time, well, find something and get into that. Find the thing that you love, and that's really what it is. And, sometimes we can pull our kids in and teach them that and get them involved, and sometimes you just want alone time to do stuff that you love. So whatever it is, but find the things that make you happy and do them. And indulge, the bath, the massage, meditate, take a walk in nature if that's your thing, or go to the beach. Those are, again, sometimes it's a family thing, and that's awesome, and sometimes it's just you, and finding ways to take care of you is important. I love them. I was reading about someone who keeps planning trips, even if they can't go because everything's still closed, they keep planning it. And just the idea of going on a trip and planning the route and planning where you're going to go, it already makes them feel better. So what a cool thing, right? Plan a trip, even if it's a year out, or next summer or next spring, when hopefully we will be able to travel. So I mean, it's always like being in that moment, practice mindfulness. I mean, we've talked about that in past weeks. Really enjoy the meal that you're having. I mean, getting into things, and really that's what creates joy and satisfaction, by really being in the moment instead of worrying about the next thing. And, putting your whole self into whatever you're doing. And just sometimes you have to actually put it on your to-do list or put it in your calendar, because if it's not in your calendar, it doesn't happen. So do that for yourself. Number 7 is just eating well. And anyone who was there on Saturday, I mean, I think there was just so much food. It was amazing to see. But, you know, what a nice thing to have. But really planning what you're going to eat, you know, I mean, so not skipping meals, you know, learning how to snack well, work on, you know, what's a nutritional balance, a little protein, a little carb, but, you know, like really looking at what you're bringing into the house and what you're eating is going to make a difference for everyone. Because at, you know, at some point, I mean, having those omega, the fish and the, you know, just really planning a little bit, because we sometimes overdo it with carbs, and everyone, it just makes you sluggish. So, you know, everyone's like a little more tired, and, you know, it just doesn't go with the whole feeling good. And when you feel good physically, you feel good mentally, it all works hand in hand. And don't over diet. You know, some people are always on a diet and pretty miserable all the time. So think about balance, eating well, you know, having those moments of like, I mean, part of the joy, right? Some might be having a fun dessert or doing something together, but overall bringing in and having a balanced food. And that's, you know, what U.S. Department of Agriculture, putting all those things. I think like we know this, but it's hard sometimes. And sometimes we go for convenience and we forget how much better we feel when we eat well. Number 8 is taking care of your spirit. And so, you know, spirituality, it could be tied to religion and to going to church, and maybe it's not. And it's just who you are inside and what you believe in and the way you live your life. But whichever way it is, it gives you a sense of purpose and meaning. And, you know, and that's something that we all need. It's also a way to understand our world, right? When we think about the big picture, it helps with our connection to others. And, you know, sometimes we need that reminder of, you know, the good in other people, and that brings that together too. For some people, their spirituality is I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, gotten to from meditating. And, you know, if that's what works for you, then it's shown that there's, you know, it actually produces that feel good, the endorphins that make you feel better. So, you know, whichever way it works for you, being in church and having everyone singing with you and feeling part of it, even if it's on Zoom. I don't know if people are in person or not yet. That can really take care of your spirit, and we need that. And that connection with others is a big part of it. You know, again, the research showed that people with strong religious beliefs recover faster from surgery, you know, that they just do better. So I know for many of you, that's a big part of your life, and that's an awesome part of your life. So connecting with your deepest self. So focusing on your goals and values and beliefs. So this is a big sentence, but, you know, sometimes we lose track of where we want to be. And especially if, you know, you just kind of got you know, all of a sudden life is very different and you really don't know anymore. But there's always goals. And if you focus on where do you want to see yourself? What are the things that are important to you? You look at the values that you believe in and you share them with your family. That is going to carry you through in the hardest times. Knowing the things that bring you hope and joy, those are the things that you need to focus on. And, you know, think about what are the things you care about most, and how can you make a difference in the world, even if the world is just your family right now. So for some, they find keeping a journal is really helpful. They write down their thoughts, they keep all of that, and it kind of is just a place to, you know, to get out all their thoughts and feelings, and that's been very helpful. For some, it's reading inspiring stories, and, you know, and whether it's biographies or just stories about people, or reading, you know, things that lift your spirit and make you feel good. For others, it's trying a new experience, you know, something you haven't done before. And it could be with the arts, with music or art or theater, if that ever happens again. So really start to think about, how do I connect with me inside? How do I focus on what I need? Because if you're happy and you're comfortable and you feel good about yourself, then it spreads out to those around you. And for our kids, they need it. They need to know that there's somebody that's, you know, feeling good and centered, so that that will help them feel good and centered. So number 9, deal better with hard times. So again, write it out. So this could be writing a journal, but it could also be, you know, those moments where someone just did something, or you're really feeling that you've been wronged and you really want to write it out, and then you send. Well, this is the part without the send. All right. So write it out, whether you do it, you know, by hand or you do it in an email, but don't necessarily send anything. You can keep it, you can reread it. Maybe just the act of writing it makes you feel better. And a lot of times it does. Sometimes the send part's not such a good idea. And sometimes it is, depending, but write it out. So tackle your problem. So, you know, I don't know if anyone else has the experience of, there's either you have a pile or you have a list, whether it's a written list or it's in your head, of things you have to do, of things that are annoying, of things that you wish you didn't have to deal with, and they kind of build up. And if you let them build up, and, you know, and we've all done this. I mean, I've, you know, thinking about like 5 things I had to do today, and then I'm just not in the mood tomorrow. And then tomorrow comes, and but for that, I'm thinking about it at bed and at night instead of sleeping, because there's things that are weighing on my mind that I didn't take care of, and they build up at night. So sometimes just like, all right, I'm going to take care of this today, and I'm going to get it at least started, if not finished, right? Can make you feel so much better. And so tackling those problems, and, you know, sometimes you need help with solutions. Sometimes you can't figure it out on your own. That's fine. So get some help. Talk to someone who might, like, sometimes just talking it out, you know, it clarifies it a little bit for you. But get that pile down and you'll feel better. And you know what? You'll feel like, look, I could do this. You know, of course there'll be more, but at least you get to, at least you get through that. And, you know, I guess I can't say this enough, but thinking you're shifting and focus on those positives. You know, when people can start to really, really change the way their mind, what the things that they focus on, and they can really shift to the things that are going right, it really makes a world of difference. And I can't say it enough, and it's hard to do, especially if you're used to kind of collecting the negative stuff. But when you do, you're gonna be so happy that you can. And what a gift to give to children, to be able to start thinking about the positives and the things that are going right. And get emotional support for things that you just can't do by yourself. You know, sometimes we need help. Sometimes, you know, it might just be calling a friend and saying, just like, help me tackle this, you know, and just think it out a little bit. And then you can get clarity. Sometimes you just need someone who's by your side, who's on the call with you, who's, you know, side by side with you, helping you get through something. But whatever it is, you know, that's how we deal with hard times, by a lot of times, by doing it together. And once we do, we realize, you know what, we're pretty tough, we're pretty strong, we can do this, and just, I'm ready for the next thing, right? Because there's always something else. And number 10 is get professional help if you need it. So, you know, sometimes, I mean, we could do all of the things that I talked about, but we're still really just not feeling good mentally. And it happens. It happens, you know, to probably to most people at some time in their life. So if you do find it, seek out a professional, they can help you come up with a plan to solve your problems, or at least help you, you know, guide you into trying to figure that out. They can help you feel stronger in the face of challenges, because they will help you look at those positive things and all the things that you're doing right, which is pretty awesome. Help you change your thinking and the behaviors that might be holding you back. Sometimes they have to, you know, they help you heal pains from the past, because we can't always move forward until we've dealt with what's happened in the past. They can help you figure out your goals and build self-confidence as well. So most people who seek help find they feel better. You don't always find the right therapist or the right mental health counselor right away, though. So if you find someone and you're like, this isn't right, I don't think they're really helping me, or I don't think they understand me, then go find someone else. Because, you know, there's so many different people out there, different personalities, and it has to be someone that's right for you. So figuring that out and being okay to find someone else, whether it's for you or a family member, that is a big step into being mentally healthy, which is what the goal is for everybody. So Martin Luther King said, you don't have to see the whole staircase, just take the first step. And, you know, all of the things that I'm talking about, you can just do a little bit of something to make a difference. And that's what's so cool. And so I kind of want to ask, you know, and this is, again, something for you to think about, or if you want to put it in the chat, but what small changes are you going to make to improve your mental health today? And that is what I want to say. I just talked a lot, and I'm sorry, that was a lot. And that's who I am. That's my email and my phone number. And all of the things that I talked about today, you can find on National Mental Health America, and it's called Live Your Life Well. So if you wanted to look and read a little bit more about what I was talking about, then that's how you would do it. Okay.